I would like to say that there are two conditions to get it. Three. The main one is that you have to remind me that I should put it into the system. The second is that you should be present at the seminars. And the third is that you should be active at the seminars. So this is just to act as a teacher. As I see my name and also there as a co-author, but my role was very, very non-substantial. So the main authors of the presentation of today is Katka Rysová, Jiří Mírovský, Míša Novák, and Magda Rysová. And the topic of the talk will be the application or software application for automatic evaluation of mostly continuity or cohesion of text, which you will see why we are concerned with such a topic. So, please start.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The name of our presentation is EVALD Software Applications for Automatic Evaluation of Text. I will present here first results of our 4-year project. And as Professor Hajčová said, it is a joint work. The members of our team are Jirka Mírovský, Michal Novák, Magda Rysová, and Professor Eva Hajčová. The aim of our project is to create software applications that can automatically evaluate text coherence or surface text coherence. We have called this application EVALD, like evaluator of discourse. I highlight that we try to evaluate surface coherence or cohesion. It means especially grammatical and lexical coherence. We are working on 2 applications and on 2 different linguistics tasks. The first one is to create application for evaluation of text written by non-native speakers of Czech, and the second task is to create application for evaluation of texts written by native speakers of Czech. We are now at the second year of our project, and we are now finalizing the second version of the applications, and both are available also as web services. Here you can see how the EVALD application looks like, or the web service looks like. You can pass there a text and then evaluate it by our application, and the EVALD gives you an estimated mark of surface text coherence. I would like to highlight that currently at the web pages you have the first of our pilot version of this software application, and now we are finalizing the second version, and we are going to publish it in a month at the beginning of November. And the second version works with much more linguistic features, and it is more reliable than the web service that is available right now. Here we have a sample of a text, so you can have an idea with which type of text we are working, and I will read it now. Čau Martine, chci tě zaprvé poděkovat, že jsi mě pozval. Já ještě potřebuju ale vědět, kdy to začíná. Abychom jsem mohl vědět, kdy musím z domova odejít. Kdo ještě přijde, budou tam Tomáš a Lukáš, jestli ano, tak fajn. Budou tam tvoje rodiče, Radek chtěl vědět. Uvidím tě později, David. I have put this text into the EVALD application, and here is a result of the evaluation. So the estimated class of this text is A2. It means beginner or basic user of Czech. And here is also the probability of the evaluation. The result is displayed under the text. Here you can see it at the web page. I should now say which evaluation scales we use. Texts by non-native speakers are evaluated according to Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. It is a document of the Council of Europe. And this document works with three basic categories. It is basic user, independent user, and proficient user. And each category has two sub-levels. A1 is basic user of Czech lower level, A2 basic user of Czech higher level, B1, B2 are independent users of Czech, and C1 and C2 are proficient users of Czech. So C2 is a master. And here is the scale for native speakers. We used the grades used commonly in Czech schools. It means that there are 5 categories. 1 means excellent result, 5 means unsatisfactory result. And now I would like to explain how the application works. EVALD measures text features of the given text. I will speak about these features later. The measured values are compared with values measured on larger corpus of text, and the text then is assigned the same category that is assigned to the most similar text in the dataset. Shortly, we use, of course, machine learning. We use a random forest algorithm implemented in Veka tool and 10-fold cross-validation. And here is a brief list of tools we use for automatic measurement of text features. You all know trees, and except for trees, we use also discourse parser and coreference tool. Discourse parser was developed by Jirka Mírovský, coreference tool by Míša Novák. Discourse parser is able to annotate intrasentential relations as well as intersentential relations. By intrasentential relations, it takes into account many functors and also other features from the T-layer, and intersentential relations are using a list of most frequent discourse connectives and T-layer properties. Coreference tool works with relative, reflexive, personal, and possessive pronouns, and also with 0 subjects. And now a few words to the text features. So what are we able to measure? The application takes into account almost 200 features. Again, now I'm speaking about the yet unpublished version. These features can be divided into 5 basic groups. We work with spelling, with morphology, with vocabulary, and with sentence structure or syntax. And on the top, we are working also with text structure, namely with discourse relations and also coreference relations. And I will speak about the individual groups of features in detail. First, something about spelling and orthography. We work with a number of typing errors. We count everything, or what is possible we count per 100 sentences. And then we work with the number of punctuation marks per 100 sentences. I have to say that some texts written by beginners, by Czech learners, don't use punctuation marks at all. So it is sometimes a distinguished feature for us. Then concerning morphology, we work with verbal voice, active, passive, with verbal mood, indicative, imperative, conditional. Also, we take into account verbal aspect, perfective or progressive, verbal tense, past, present, future, distribution of grammatical cases from nominative to instrumental, Then where it is possible, we take into account number, singular and plural, and also distribution of part of speech. And we also measure or are looking at whether there are some positives, comparatives, and superlatives of adjectives and adverbs. Then concerning vocabulary, the application is able to measure variety of used lemmas. It means it looks at the richness of used vocabulary in texts. Then there is a feature concerning number of unrecognized lemmas and word length. Now, syntax or sentence structure. We are able to measure sentence length, number of non-predicate sentences. It means sentences like okay, good, and so on. We count also the number of subordinate sentences, number of main clauses in the sentence, then the distribution of subordinate clause types, and we also count number of levels in the dependency trees and also number of nodes in each level of the dependency tree. And our current topic is text structure. Last year we worked mainly with discourse features. So we take into account number of all connectives per 100 sentences, number of coordinating connectives. These are expressions like a, ale, nebo. Also a number of subordinating connectives. These are expressions like aby, když, protože. We count also number of intrasentential discourse relations and on the other hand intersentential discourse relations, and our applications work also with secondary connectives. Then we measure number of all discourse relations, number of different connectives, so we work with connectives quantity and also with connective distribution or diversity. We try to count also the ratio of discourse relations with some listed connectives. These are a, ale, protože, také, potom, pak, když, nebo, proto, and so on. These are the most common connectives. And then we measure also the ratio of discourse relations from some listed classes. These are temporal, contingency, contrast, and expansion relations. We also look at the ratio of occurrence of the most common connectives within all connectives in text. The most common connective is usually a. And then we work with a ratio of occurrence also of the first and second most common connectives. This year we started to work with coreference relations. So we look at the number of coreference relations or the number of coreference arrows in the text, and also with the number of coreference chains in the text. We count also the number of intersentential and intrasentential coreference relations. We measure also the length of coreference relations and look at the fact whether the coreference or whether the chains consist of the same words like she, or whether there are various lemmas like she, Jane, the girl, and so on. And we also look at that whether the coreference chains consist of different part of speech or not. Then we count the ratio of pronouns in the text because the pronouns are connected with the coreference very basically. We look also at the types of the pronouns in text. So we distinguish personal, demonstrative pronouns, and so on. We count also the occurrence of the pronoun který, because it is overused in the text written by non-native speakers, beginners. And the same case is with the pronoun to. It is also overused by users or by basic users of Czech. And then we work also with variety lemmas with the functor actor, or some simple texts overuse the same pronoun with the role of actor. They use, for example, simple sentences like já bydlím v České republice, já dělám to a to. Now a few words to the fact what we are or how we evaluate the successfulness of our applications. We measure two aspects. The first one is accuracy. It is more simple. The second one is macro average F-score. By measuring accuracy, there are some pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages. The accuracy is very easy to measure and also very easy to interpret. And the accuracy is reported also by all similar projects. So it is quite easy to compare our results with other projects, but I have to say that the figures are not fully comparable. But of course, the measuring of accuracy could be also misleading if the distribution of grades in the individual categories does not, or if the distribution of text in individual categories are not same. And actually, we do not know how the real distribution of grades in texts looks like. So we calculate the accuracy on the balanced data sets and also on non-balanced data sets. The figures counted on the unbalanced data sets will be reported later. And a few words to macro average F-score. It's another way how to balance contributions of classes to the score. And what is F-score? F-scores calculated or F-scores are calculated for every class and then are averaged. Here are the results of our evaluation in figures. Here in the table you can see the individual categories of features and the accuracy and macro average F-score. You can see if we use all features, all feature sets together, the accuracy on the unbalanced data set is 67% and the macro average F-score is 63. Then we can report the reliability or let me say accuracy and F-score in accordance to individual classes of text features. And you can see how the individual text aspects are able to distinguish between the texts. So the accuracy using only the spelling features would be 34%, F-score 32%. The accuracy with vocabulary features only would be 36%, F-score similar. Morphology is a very strong category or very good working features. The accuracy with using this group of features is 62%, and the F-score is also very high. Then syntax features 50% and almost 50%. The discourse, first discourse connective quantity 39% and 36%. Discourse connective diversity 42 and 40. Coherence is also very strong, similar like the morphology group, 61% and 57%. As I have said, if we use all features together, the exact accuracy would be 67% and macro average F-score 63. And for us it is very interesting to look also on the accuracy and F-score if we use so-called one-level tolerance. With one-level tolerance means that the application and real grade or real class are neighboring, or they differ exactly in one class. For example, if the application says the text is class A2, but the teacher says no, it isn't A2, it's B1, and if we take this case as a good agreement, so the accuracy would be 89% and the macro average F-score is also very high, 88%. You can remember from your school years that also at school it isn't easy to say whether some text is the level A or the level 2. Some teachers use marks like 1-, 2+, and so on. So to agree on the one mark is a quite difficult task. And now the evaluation measured on the second data set. This data set consists of text written by native speakers. You can see that the exact accuracy with using all features would be 67%. It is similar like in the previous case, but the F-score is lower, only 47. And again here you can see how the individual text features work if they would evaluate the text only as the one class. Again, very strong is morphology, and also good results are done by coreference features. Again, except for the exact accuracy and macro average F-score, we have measured also the one-level tolerance accuracy and one-level tolerance macro average F-score. These figures are quite good, we can say. Accuracy is 89% and macro average F-score is 86. And now a few words to language data, or to our data sets. It is quite hard work to collect the reliable texts, because there are not many corpora containing the text that would be usable for us. And the second problem is that the corpora doesn't contain the evaluation of coherence of the texts. The only corpus that contained also the evaluation of coherence of the text was the corpus Merlin. So we used 3 available corpora. The first one is corpus Merlin, the second corpus Chessel, or in Lindat corpus Access is the same corpus, and for native speakers we use the corpus Script 2012. I will briefly introduce the individual corpora. Merlin corpus is a corpus of text written by non-native speakers of Czech. It contains 3 languages, Italian, German and Czech, so we used the Czech parts. Of course, there are 441 Czech texts, so all of them are incorporated in EVALD. As I have said, texts are rated according to its coherence and cohesion, and the assessment was very reliable, so we could use it in our application. The problem is that this corpus contains only texts on the level A2, B1 and B2. There are also a few texts on the levels A1 and C1, but these texts are very rare. So we had to use another corpus. It was Česl SGT, and it's another corpus of non-native speakers or texts written by non-native speakers of Czech, but there are no coherence marks, so we had to annotate the coherence of the text ourselves. This corpus is a little bit broader. It contains text on levels A1 to, or from A1 to C2, but C2 texts are very, very rare. I think there is a single C2 text. And Corpus Script 2012, it's a corpus of texts written by native speakers, and these texts have character of students' essay. Again, no coherence marks are available, so we had to annotate this text also manually. We used also or some of the texts from Corpus Script also for training of EVALD for non-native speakers, because we take advantage of the fact that the C2 category, it means the category of masters, is very, very similar to the category of native speakers. Here you can see our data sets in a table. The first data set consists of texts written by native speakers. L1 are native speakers. You can see that the EVALD for native speakers was trained on 1,118 texts in total. Here you have the distribution of texts in individual classes, and then the number of sentences and also number of tokens in each class. L2 dataset means language as a language as a foreign language. So these dataset consist of text written by non-native speakers. In total, EVALD for non-native speakers was trained on 945 texts, and again there is a distribution of the texts in the individual 6 categories. As I have said, we used gold annotation in our project. Merlin corpus was annotated on coherence, so we took the marks from this corpus, and the corpora, Česl and script were annotated by us. Inter-annotated agreement of 2 annotators was 64% for or on the level of exact accuracy. With 1 level tolerance, it was 90%. Coherence kappa was 56. This was the case of texts by native speakers, and by texts written by non-native speakers, the accuracy was lower. It was 51%. The accuracy with 1 level tolerance was 33%, and the Coherence kappa was 38, so it was lower than in the previous case. For comparison, in a Swedish project, the inter-annotator agreement was 46% on the level of exact accuracy. I will speak about it in detail later. And now I would like to show you which text we work with. Maybe more interesting for us or more usable in practice is work with texts written by non-native speakers. So I will here show you why we don't have a higher inter-annotator agreement, and how it is easy or difficult to mark coherence of texts written by non-native speakers. As I have said, Common European Framework of Reference for Languages distinguish 6 categories. A1 is the basic category, C2 is the master category. So the category of very beginners define writing samples as it's written in first person. I can write a short, simple postcard, for example, sending holiday greetings. I can fill in forms with personal details, for example, entering my name, nationality, and address on a hotel registration form. And concretely, the coherence of the writing is defined as I can link words or group of words with very basic linear connectors like and or then. And now a sample of typical A1 text. Dobrý den, jmenuji se somehow, já student v UJOP. Já vstávám ráno až v 7 hodin. Jdu do školy, tam studuju češtinu a angličtinu. Dnes byla matematika. Já chodím do somewhere, další jdu domů. Dělám domášní úkoly. Čtu knihy, píšu česky v sešite. Já večeřím maso a polévku. Další jdu spát, jak každý. I don't know who. So it was the level of very beginners. Basic users of Czech on the higher level are A2 users. Their writing is defined as I can write short, simple notes and messages relating to matters in areas of immediate need. I can write a very simple thanking someone for something. Concerning coherence, I can link groups of words with simple connectors like and, but, and because. An sample of typical A2 text. Ahoj Mileno, děkuji za tvůj e-mail. Těší se mi, mám dobře a nemám čas. V srpnu budu na moře o dovolené. Protože nemám čas, 13. srpna nepůjedu na grilovací party. A potom na 27.8. půjedu o svatbě. Co si přejete? Mám čas ve středu, sedíme se ve středu na kávu v menze v kavaně. Těší se mi, mám čas v 13 hodin, máš čas, nemá píšeš, hledám dobrou gramatiku českého jazyku, znáš jednou a můžeš koupit, platím se, když sedíme, jak se máte, máš dobře, těší se mi na tebe, na konci všechno dobře. Zatím ahoj, Blažena. The category of independent user of Czech, or the first category of independent users of Czech, is B1. B1 users can write simple texts, simple connected texts on topics which are familiar or of personal interest. They can write personal letters describing experiences and impressions. And on coherence, I can link a series of shorter, discrete, simple elements into connected linear sequence of points. You can see that the definition is very, very general. B1 text. Ahoj Aleno, bylo mi velká radost číst poslední e-mail, který jsem dostal před. Mám se výborně, protože momentálně píšu zkoušku z češtiny. Musím ti napsat dopis a potom udělám ústní zkoušku. Jinak i jiné zkousky už jsme dělal. Teď mi počkají jenom několik hezčí seminární práci. Ten rok ještě nepracuju na diplomce, teprve začnu tím příští rok. Přesto nebudu mít dlouhé prázdniny, ale až přijdeš ty, určitě mám volno. Musíš mi napsat, v kolik hodin přijede vlak z Pirny, abych mohl tě dojít. V každém případě se těším na tvou návštěvu. Odpoledne můžeme jet domů mých rodičce a večer bychom mohli jít do kina, jestli máš chuť. Ostatně děkuji ti mockrát za tvou hezkou nabídku. Mám velký zájem na kurzu češtiny. Jenom potřebuju vědět, kolik stojí, nemám hodně peníze. A nevíš, kdy začne? Snad je ti možné, že mi poslaš inzerát kurzu, moc bych byl rád, kdybych mohl studovat v Čechách v letě. Tedy pozdravuj tvoje rodičci a měj se hezky. Těším se na 13. dubna, když se uvidíme. Jsem jistý, že budeme mít hezkou dobou spolu. Za chvílí ahoj. Srdečně tvůj Martin. And higher level of independent users of Czech, their writing samples are defined as I can write clear, detailed text on a wide range of subjects related to my interests. I can write an essay or a report, passing on information or giving reasons in support of or against a particular point of view. I can write letters highlighting the personal significance of events and experiences. As for coherence, I can use a limited number of cohesive devices to link his or her utterances into clear, coherent discourse, though there may be some jumpiness in a long contribution. And how we can imagine the B2 text? Na ulici určitě potkáte bezdomovce, které poprosí o peníze, ale na druhé straně na ulici jsou obchody, které prodávají luxorní věci. Myslím si, že peníze jsou základní věc pro náš život a proto potřebujeme práci. Když chceme žít luxorně, potřebujeme vydělávat hodně peněz. Teď jsem studentka, tak nevydělám peníze skoro nic. Udělala jsem brigádu, ale vydělala jsem málo. Díky svým rodičům můžu žít a studovat spokojeně. Několik kamarádů chtělo studovat v zahraničí, ale potřebovalo hodně peněz. A proto udělali mnoho brigádu a nakonec splnili svůj sen. Já taky udělala brigádu, abych si koupila hezké drahé šaty. To je těžké žít bez zábavní. Vždycky člověk chce něco a proto potřebujeme peníze. To je život a to je těžké žít jenom s základní věcí, třeba jenom s chleby a vodou, aspoň žijeme ve městě. To je ideální žít bez starosti a jak chceme, ale to je těžké bez peněz. Proto mnoho lidí pracují, aby vydělali peníze a žili spokojeně. Bez práce jsou žádné peníze. Takže souhlasím s tím příslovím, že bez práce nejsou koláče. Now the categories of proficient users of Czech. C1 category is defined as I can express myself in clear, well-structured text, expressing points of view and at some length. I can write about complex subjects in a letter, an essay, or a report, underlining what I consider to be the salient issues. I can select style appropriate to the reader in mind. As for coherence, I can produce clear, smoothly flowing, well-structured speech, showing controlled use of organizational patterns, connectors, and cohesive devices. How C1 text looks like. Nemám žádný volný čas. Naopak mám málo času, abych mohl udělat všechny užitečné věci, které si pečlivě plánuju. Co je to za nesmysl? Lidé, kteří takhle přemýšlí, by se měli nad sebou zamyslet. Skutečně nestíhám, nebo to nechci stihnout? Když mám ku příkladu mnoho zkoušek a sedím 12 hodin denně nad knihama, můžu říct, že nestíhám. Ale když člověk nemá čas na uklizení izby, nemá čas vyvenčit psa a v poslední době velmi aktuální nemám čas sportovat, je na 99% výmluva. Není to jen tím, že se nám sportovat ve skutečnosti nechce a ta procházka se psem není pro nás tak důležitá, jak dívání se na televizi, nebo prostě nejsme schopni si správně zorganizovat svůj volný čas. Někdy jsou ale tyhle naše výmluvy jednoduše funkční. Mají totiž obrannou funkci pro naše ego, je to takzvaný obranný mechanismus, aby se naše mínění o nás udrželo v pozitivní kontinuitě. Pokud je však tenhle mechanismus příliš častý, způsobuje vážné deformování reality, kterou člověk o sobě má. Otázkou zůstává, kde je hranice. And the real masters, the last category of our scale, or of the scale of Common European Framework. Masters are able to write clear, smoothly flowing text in an appropriate style. They can write complex letters, reports, or articles which present a case with an effective logical structure which helps the recipient to notice and remember significant points. They can write summaries and reviews of professional or literary works. Concerning coherence, they can create coherent and cohesive discourse, making full and appropriate use of a variety of organizational patterns and a wide range of connectors and other cohesive devices. Again, the definition is very, very general. And the last sample, v několika prostorách staroměstské radnice se koná v této době zajímavá výstava o desetiletí od roku 1980 až do roku 1990, která byla utvářena amatérskou fotografkou Danou Kindrovou. Jde o zdařilé momentky všedního dne v bývalém Československu za komunismu. Umělkyni se vynikajícím způsobem podařilo zobrazit tísnivou atmosféru českého života po převratu a převzetí moci komunisty 25. února roku 1948. Velmi dobře Daná Kindrová dovedla dokumentovat mechanismy utlačování. Zvláště odpuzující kult osobnosti nejvyššího řízení státu Gottwald Husák byl pozorovatelům do očí. Portréty od Stalina a Brežněva ukázaly zřetelně, kdo byl v podstatě panem země. Inscénace veřejného politického života byly obšírně vypracovány. Napře nebyl vidět děj volby, volební zástěna k tajemnému odevzdání hlasu ve volební místnosti nebyla. Ačkoliv podle zákona volební povinnost neexistovala, útlak ze strany komunistických funkcionářů byl tak pronikavý, že volební účast dosáhla napr v roce 1986 99,4%. Také komunisty organizována masová shromaždění se fotografce dobře podařila. Podstatná byla dokumentace neblahého významu lidových milicí, způsobu soukromé armády komunistické strany, jejíž úkolem bylo udusit nepokoje v zárodku. Tyto milice nebyly vůbec plánovány v ústavě, ale strana komunistů se ze zákonů starala starou vačkoru. Tyto milice zakročily ještě v roce 1989 brutálně proti demonstrantům, ale už nemohly odvrátit postup událostí. V roce 1990 byly zrušeny. And now I have a simple task for you, or now I would like to show you how easy or difficult is to estimate the real category or class of the text. So please let me read one more sample. It is the last sample in this presentation, and after that we try to estimate together which coherence level this text could be. Ahoj Aleno, jsem moc rád, že se máš dobře. Lyžovali jsme také. Byli jsme v Švýcarsko. Tam bylo v Davosu, víš. Mají tam hodné výborný sýr v Švýcarsko. Moje studium je vlastné dobře. Samozřejmě už nepracuju, hodné na diplomce. Plánuju dovolenou, ano. Ještě budu jet do Brazílie navštívit přítelkyni. Je to krásně, že bude jet do Drážďan. Musíš mého navštívit dopoledne. Kdy bude na nádraží, budu docházet ti a vaše univerzita nabízí prázdninové kurzy češtiny, je to zajímavý. Kdy to bude, co to stůj, je to cenný, nevadí, chci zúčastnit se. Můžeš mému posílat kopie za inzerát. Těší mě, že bude mého navštívit. Bude výborné dní. Tak, je to dost. Můžu teď napsat zkoušku v češtinu. Měj se hezky, David. So, as I have demonstrated, we have 6 possibilities how to mark this text. The level of the very beginners is A1, then A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. So may I ask you who thinks that this text is on the level A1? One person, 2 person? No. A2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. B1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. B2, everybody? C1, C2. Okay, so maybe this text could be on the level A2. There were 12 people, and 10 people think that this text is on the level B1. According to the Merlin annotation, this text is on the level A2, and also the application, if you put the text into our application, it says that it is the level A2. So the 12 people were right, it should be level A2. But you see that it isn't so easy to say which level the text is. Now I would like to say only a few words to feature extraction for our machine learning experiments. We have measured the distribution of connective means in Merlin text. It is maybe interesting for linguists, so that's the reason why I am presenting such results here. We have done this type of research on the Merlin corpus. It means on the texts from the categories A2, B1, and B2. These levels differ in frequency and distribution of connective means, and we try to see in which way. We work with most frequent connectives. Here is a list of these connectives. These are connectives like as you would expect, a, ale, když, protože, tak, aby, and so on. Here is a table presenting how many most frequent connectives are in the individual categories. Here you can see the categories A2, B1, and B2. And you can see how many connectives are in the individual classes. The second column shows or demonstrates how many connectives are here per 100 sentences. So the interesting results are in the last row. There are 47 connectives per 100 sentences in the level A2, 44 connectives per 100 sentences on the level B1. So you can see that these two categories do not significantly differ on the level of count of connectives, but the level B1 has 91 connectives per 100 sentences. So you can see that from the level B1 there is a growth of number of used connectives. And here are the graphs showing the distribution of the most frequent connectives. The most frequent connectives in every level is connective A, and but the levels differ in the proportion of A among the other most frequented connectives. So you can see that on the level A2, the proportion of A is about 70%, but at the levels B2 and B1, it is the proportion is about 50% only. And again, here is the A2 category different, and on the categories B2 and B1 are similar in this aspect. So you can see here that the learners of Czech are learning in jumps, that they are not improving linearly in all cases. So some features can be distinguishing between only some categories, not between all the possible categories. And here is a brief comparison with other projects, as I said. Similar applications or similar experiments were done, for example, for Estonian, German, or Swedish. We have to say that these figures are not fully comparable with our figures, and or because they are not working with all categories as we are. Or the Estonian people work only with categories A2, B1, B2, C1. On the German, it was on categories A1 to C1. And also the number of used text in the individual categories was not same, and so the accuracy isn't comparable in all aspects. But there are some tentative results for us. So in the case of Estonian, the accuracy of automatic evaluation was almost 80%. They used morphosyntactics and lexical features. On German, the accuracy was 63%. They used morphosyntactic and lexical features. And Swedish people worked with essays written by native speakers. Their accuracy was 62%. And for us is interesting also the inter-annotator agreement, or the agreement of teachers assessing the texts. It was 46%. Now, where or in which way we can use similar applications in general. Of course, teachers can use some of the applications for control evaluation. For example, the teacher can assess the text, the application can assess the text, and if they differ more in one category, maybe another teacher could re-evaluate the essay once more. The students can be given tentative feedback before some language exams, or they can select an appropriate language course level. Maybe the automatic evaluation of text could be used in machine translation, or in evaluation of machine translation. It's another way of evaluating, because the applications here evaluate the whole text, not the separate sentences. And what we are doing just now, I said that now we are working on a new version of EVALD. It will be published at the beginning of November. And newly, the application will give also some feedback for users. The EVALD should report also stronger and weaker aspects of each evaluated text. These aspects will take into account the individual levels of language or groups of language aspects, namely spelling, morphology, vocabulary, syntax, and text structure, in our case, discourse relations and coherence. Some other information are on our web pages. Here is the acknowledgement references, and thank you very much for your attention. If you have questions, there are the co-authors that are sure ready to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your talk, which I think was very informative, so that we could get some good picture of the system and of the purpose of the system and possible applications. So I would like to open discussion on any aspect of the project, so to say.
I would have two questions. One is, you've clearly added some annotation to the two corpora that you showed. When is that going to be released? When is the data going to be released? Or are you planning to release the data with additional annotation? I think it would be worth it.
Yeah,
could be interesting for other researchers.
Yeah, it could be. I am not sure whether it is possible because of author's laws. If it is possible,
I don't remember the licenses of the two corpora, but check the licenses of those corpora in the repository. If they don't specifically say no derivative works, then it should be allowed. Yes.
Okay.
In that case, I would say think about releasing the data. And then I have a question about the morphology aspect, the morphological features. It was very interesting to see how many errors are made in diacritics.
Yeah.
I would say those are almost like a phonological or phonetical errors, because those people sometimes, and as the level was increasing, they knew more and more how to do proper agreement and so on, but still they made some errors in the diacritics, in vocal lengths or things like that. Maybe it would be informative for the users to distinguish it as a special category. And that's a thing that can be corrected automatically with 99.6% accuracy or something like that.
To spoken language than to written language, and the errors you just pointed out to were errors or are errors which relate to this difference. I don't know. Up to you.
Yeah, thank you for your remarks. Of course, we can do it in this way. Yeah, it's possible, and probably we will do it. We have lots of time for it. We have 2 more years, so of course we would like to improve our applications.
I have also. Okay, so let him answer the question first.
Yeah, I will give it back. It's a good point, and like we had such a suggestion from Martin Popel as well, like recently, that we should also inform the user about other aspects than coherence, just because it's very distracting when you read the text and it's full of those errors, and it tells you that okay, the discourse is fine. So then it's a bit like you are confused with the results, like that the morphology or error, there are a lot of like phonological errors, but the tool tells you that because you are very good in using conjunctions, so it's okay. So yeah, we are like considering adding maybe some additional features or additional aspects that should be measured. Yeah.
I have two small questions. One, I guess, is not does not concern you, but what does mean the word independent in the definition of level B? I need to know it because I work with it, and I don't understand independent on what. A are dependent and C are dependent. It's one question. And the next question is, when you gave the list of morphological features you follow, there was not present gender. Do you have some special reason why not? Or
No, we have no special reason. Yeah, thank you. We can edit the gender into the application. It isn't a problem. It's sure possible. Yeah, and for the definitions, me personally, I think that the definitions are very general, and if we annotate the texts, the definitions don't help us much. Yeah, we tried to look at real texts in Merlin corpus. There were the coherence marks, so we looked at the text practically, and we try to estimate whether the new texts are more similar, like this text type, or they are better or they are worse. But the definition that is given by the commonly used and shared common European framework were not helpful for us, and I think there is definitely a need to more specify what is meant by the definitions. They use, for example, also confusing terms. They say, for example, basic connectives like and then. Why and then are basic connectives. They and in other category they use something like most common connectives or most typical connectives. So basic and most typical is the same category, isn't the same category. They used only a few examples. Yeah, I think, or I can say I know that the definitions are not much connected with the real work, with the real texts.
Some further questions? Just one observation. When I looked at your samples, it seemed to me that the students or whoever wrote the text were very skillful in discourse structure. Already in A2, it seemed to me that they knew how to express themselves. They had many mistakes in morphology, syntax, and other features which you had, but it seemed to me that the features of discourse were okay, or mostly okay, already at the lower levels. Mm-hmm. So there is something about learning language, I don't know what.
maybe that the people want to express themselves in coherent way, so they from the very low levels they try to use some connectives and to imitate the real communication, maybe, I don't know, of course.
And another thing, it's different from children, I think, because when you look at children who express themselves, you certainly have the connective and, something and, something and, something and it's not at all here. So I think it might be interesting to study the text also from this point of view.
It just occurred to me that actually I understand why you don't have those features that we are talking about for general correcting of texts in there right now, because, well, your project is about particularly about discourse, right? So it makes sense that you started from that, but I think there is really big potential to develop it into, well, what you are already starting, some kind of a generic learning device for all kinds of students. And it reminded me of a very interesting talk we had maybe 2-3 years back from a French student, Ivan Schmilauer from Paris, who created this kind of learning environment for French, specifically people with French background who are learning Czech. It's a very elaborate tool that is available online, and it's slightly different because it's really like a guided, structured tool that helps you do exercises and then evaluate the types of errors that you make and propose what grammatical features you should concentrate your learning on and so on. But there could be some interesting inspiration there, and well, I don't know exactly how to do it, but I think that together with the tool Čapek for study of Czech syntax that was done a few years back by a different student of ours, we could have a potential for some kind of interesting learning environment here. So I would say that I find your work really inspiring, and it would be very good to continue on that topic. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will definitely look at Ivan Schmilauer. Thank you.
Well, if there are no questions, before we thank the speaker and the authors again, I would like to say that next week we will listen to a talk which has something to do about learning morphology or learning language. So in a way, it's from the psychological circle, so it's not that much linguistically oriented. But anyway, so there is a certain continuation of the thinking, so to say, of the two seminars. So thank you again very much.